And solve the issue. We heard that this trailer was what happened here is that we're going to an environment where P2B is going to donate a bus, and then they had this issue, and he came down on the road to come and solve the issue. We heard that this trailer was
this sound sounds very familiar. Obi. Good day, everyone, and welcome to Obidient Family TV. The program is Hope Alive. Yes, there is hope, and the new Nigeria is possible. Well, today we just get to the point. As you can see, our startup point, P2B, is in a very good mood today. There are so much reactions on the issues of his being on the road and saving a whole lot of travelers on the road today, which is really the subject of our discussion today, because it still means that P2B's massive influence is still there. Wherever he goes, he just cannot stop doing good. Well, before we get into that, I want also to inform us that the pilot that flew the Nigerian team, the Super Eagles, has shed more light on the controversial treatment meted out on the flight on the last minute. But let's get started on the P2B's issue, because we are actually excited at what is trending out there today. Earlier, we see tweets coming out from Dr. Mo revealed what happened earlier today as they were traveling from Anambra State to Kogi, where they found themselves approaching Onobe on Olamaboro local government area, shortly after Otukpo branch in Benue State. Dr. Mo reiterated that along a long line of vehicles stalled for nearly half a kilometer and immediately caught their attention while they were traveling. And he said upon inquiry, they learned that a policeman had shot at the tires of a trailer, prompting the drivers at the scene to block the road in protest. True to the character of His Excellency Mr. P2B, he did not remain in the car. He walked straight to the heart of the protest. While tension was palpable, but as usual, he did not take long for the atmosphere to shift, according to Dr. Mo. He said that I watched the chants of our president fill the air with voices from the Idomas, Igalas, the Igbos, the Yorubas, and the Hausas, all joining in singing praises of Mr. Peter Obi's Excellency. And they said Mr. Peter Obi reached to the Hausa driver who blocked the road that caused a very massive heat rock on the road. He said he has seemed visibly upset about the damage to the trailer. Something remarkable happened, according to Mo. And in quote, he said, instead of continuing to lament, the driver took out his phone, and soon the entire crowd in that road was drawn into the moment. Everyone eagerly capturing selfies with His Excellency Mr. P2B. Without any prompting from Mr. P2B, the driver, speaking in Hausa as translated by the people nearby, exclaimed, "Who am I for Obi to beg me?" And with that, the road was cleared, much to everyone's relief. And he asked, What exactly was at play here? Was it Mr. Peter Obi's unmistakable influence or something even deeper? That is a question from Dr. Mo. You can go to comment section. Tell us what your take is. What really happened that is it Mr. Peter Obi's unmistakable influence or something else deeper? Go to comment section. Tell us. Joining us to have this discussion, I have our active Obedience and members of Obidient family, especially the people who joins us daily to buttress the points of obedience and bringing the issues that usually oppositions will bring, which has to do with leadership failures in Nigeria. So let's start this very discussion with Mr. Bassi, who is of course ready to go. Mr. Bassi, please give us your take. I know you have been waiting for a while now, so please, can you get ahead? Tell us your take on this. Tell us, starting with the question that Dr. Mo asked in this place, whether it is His Excellency Peter Obi's influence or something deeper that did happen, because we hear the chants, Mr. Bassi.
Thank you, Mr. Kanu. Good evening. Thanks for having me. Good evening, fellow Zoom panelists. Good day, Obedience and listeners across the world. It's just the love for the people, and when a man is being loved, he doesn't need to cajole the people to do anything. The sight of him will evoke that spontaneous love in the atmosphere. And that's what actually displayed there. That is the precedent that INEC denied Nigerians, and the Supreme Court. And till today, a lot of Nigerians are still connected with the fact that Peter Obi is the president of the people. And regardless of whatever had happened during the 2023 election, because they still believe that that's the man Nigerians voted for. And his love for the people, his empathy for the people had endeared him to the entire populace, that anywhere he goes, you see that love being radiated. You see that connection with the people. And one would have expected that you see, that shows you the kind of leader he is. You see, some people would have probably taken a detour off the road and looked for an alternative road to pass. But this is a man who is touched by the feelings of the people. He had to go down, walk down to go and see what the issue is. And then his presence alone had calmed the atmosphere that would have probably ignited violence or something else. So that is what we are talking about, that Nigerians are easygoing people. When they have a leader that loves, show empathy and show that love for the people, they will easily connect. That is what has actually happened there, and that's what is at display. Once again, I commend our principal for being who he is, for not allowing the atmosphere in the country to change who he is and his personality. Bravo one more time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we are talking about Mr. Bassi has to do with the security situation in that particular area, because the Olamaboro area, local government we are talking about, is mostly where these kidnappers den is. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Bassi?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We know how volatile that environment is. That's why I said other leaders who occupy position of authority wouldn't even dare to come down. They would have looked for an alternative route to escape, because for them, their life is more important than the life of the people they are serving. So that's what it is.
Okay. Okay. Right. Quickly before I let you go, I know His Excellency Peter Obi talked the issue about national power grid collapse for the 6th time in a role. What do you have to comment about that? Because that is his latest tweet this afternoon.
He was spot on in his assertion. You see, the question I will ask, who is going to be charged for treason now that the national grid had collapsed? Will the federal government charge themselves for treason? Because you remember what happened during the NLC strike. When the national grid was shut down, they went ahead and started threatening them with treasonable charges for shutting down the national grid. Now that this has happened twice after the NLC strike, who is going to be held responsible? Who is going to be charged for this treasonable act on Nigerians? Because, like the PO said, a lot of SMEs depend on power to power their operation. And I know what people have gone through these few days that we've been having this epileptic supply until yesterday when everything just collapsed. We see that further is going to ignite inflation because people will have to resort to alternative source of energy, which is buying diesel to power their generator. And that alone is going to, escalate the cost of production and invariably put that burden back on the consumer, the end users. So that's what it is. And so this is a failure in leadership, to be very candid. Like the analysis was shown, look at, we are the fourth largest economy in Africa. We fell from number 1 to number 4. And out of the first 3 economies, their power generation ranges between 40 to 50,000 megawatts. Now, this is what, if you put the 3 of them together, combined, their population is not up to Nigerian population. So, how come a country that prides itself as the giant of Africa cannot even afford to generate as much as 40,000 megawatts of power? This is a sad situation. And this government, when they were campaigning, actually told Nigeria that if in 4 years in this power tangible supply. But again, that is not enough because you have that for 1-2 days. The next moment you hear national grid had collapsed. So why can't we have a stable light such that we don't have to go through this incessant collapse in the national grid? To think that we are even the country that is supplying our neighbors, Niger, Benin Republic, we are supplying them light. We saw the other day that the Benin Republic is owing Nigeria about 9-point-something billion in energy supply to them. So, and those places have stable light, stable power supply. So how come we that are giving these people this thing, we can't even afford to have steady power supply in our economy? It's a sad situation. It just clearly shows that this is for me sensitive position in that industry, because this is not ordinary anymore. You see, we've seen various attempts by various governments trying to do this thing, but it looks as if the cartel in the power sector is much dangerous than the one in the oil, in the drug cartel. So this is the situation we find ourselves as a nation. Until we are able to break that thing and take a decisive step, we will not. We'll keep going around circle, and this steady power supply will continue to elude us. So this is a failure in the leadership that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Thank you very much for this.
From where you're coming from, like P.O. said in his tweet, that this reoccurring disaster is a national shame and a glaring testament to the failure of leadership and policy implementation at the highest level. How long must Nigerians endure a system that fails to provide one of the critical necessities for a productive society? This latest power grid collapse is a symbolic of a leadership and government that has consistently failed to prioritize the welfare and economic well-being of the Nigerian people. Well, let's get to all our co-discussants here, the people who are reacting to what happened with the PO and the people on the road today. Of course, we have Christian Ako from Niger State, who, of course, I believe joined us to make his own contributions and the reaction. So, Christian, before we get to this very power grid disaster issue, I understand that in Niger State there are several dams, of course, that provide light. So invariably, I know there should be light in Niger State. So you tell us whether there is power everywhere in Niger State because of that. And again, tell us your thoughts on what happened with the rescue operation that PO did today, that people were just shouting just like it was in 2023, 2022. Everybody was just excited, calling him Mr. President and all of that. Let's hear your opinion and your reaction on that, Christian.
That happened along branch, Benue State, is a common scenario along Nigerian roads where security agents that are supposed to be law-abiding before enforcing the law seem to be lawbreakers. Mr. Kanu, if you travel along a 9th mile through Otukpo down to Lafia, Makodi, before going to Lafia, you observe that there are over 500 checkpoints. Count it. It becomes irritating. In less than every half kilo, you meet a checkpoint. If you didn't meet the police, you are meeting the soldier. If you are not meeting the soldier, you are meeting different security agents. And the summary of it all, they are all out there collecting bribes. They are collecting bribes for this driver. They are making life miserable for this driver. In short, they contribute to why there is high cost of food in Nigeria. Mr. Kanu, there was a time I was running a business where I had to transport food from Benue to Lagos. And it was horrible. A situation whereby even drivers complained that 40,000 naira was not enough to settle the road checkpoints. This is unbearable, and the system is seeing nothing wrong with it. For how long? So when drivers are pushed to the wall, they tend not to give out bribe any longer, and the security agents who are trigger happy pull the trigger. They puncture the tire, and he resorted to blocking the road. Well, thank God for the arrival of Mr. Pio, who was able to efficiently use his goodwill to persuade the driver, and they got the situation resolved amicably. But in the event that Pio was not there, you can imagine that situation will have lasted for days. It's a common scenario in Nigerian road, especially along that axis. So we have a very difficult situation. Nobody is willing to do anything about it. That being said, in respect to power, as I'm speaking to you, I have less than 9% of my phone. In power states, that is how bad it is. Power state, which is
but I understand that I understand that you people have several dams in that place, and of course, you can generate your own power.
I want to name them. There is Shiroro Dam, there is Kainji Dam, Zingero Hydropower Dam. All these dams, we are not feeling the effect in the state. Mr. Kanu, there was a time I traveled to Benue, and I observed there was light. For days, there is no blackout. And I begin to inquire, where do they get their power source from? And I was made to understand that they tap their power from Plateau. They are able to sustain at least 18-hour power supply per day. But that is not the situation in Niger. You know, here in Niger, so we don't have lights. The only time we have light, maybe like 4 hours in a day, and some days we don't even have at all. So, and nobody is seeing anything wrong with it. In short, Abdul Salam, the former president of Nigeria, General Abdul Salam Abubakar, is in charge of, is part of the ownership, the private investor for this one of the power station that is supplying Niger State light. And they are seeing nothing wrong with it. So the system is so terrible, and nobody is seeing a reason to call on a state of emergency on power. It's becoming boring that we have a breakdown of national grid. It has become a regular event, you know, until we begin to see Nigeria as a country of our own, and we give it the energy it deserves towards restructuring and rebuilding the country in a way that works. Otherwise, businesses will continue to suffer, and companies will continue to shut down and run out of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian, all the way from Niger State, explaining the
and the power problems and all of that from Niger State. Thank you so much, Mr. Christian. And now, due to the power grid issues that is happening across the country, Tony, I'm coming to you right away with this. Nigeria is the 4th largest economy in Africa, having fallen from the #1 position due to leadership failures over the years, including the persistent power crisis that we are witnessing now, which is critical when compared to smaller economies. Now, South Africa, which is now the largest economy in Africa with a GDP of about 400 billion, 30% of our population, they generate and distribute over 40,000 megawatts of electricity. Compared to what we do, we don't want to talk about Egypt, which is the 2nd largest economy with another GDP of about 350 billion US dollars, and half of our own population, they generate and distribute over 40,000 megawatts. We can go on and on from Algeria to the rest. But Mr. Tony, what I want to bring for you to help us put after the issue of what PO did today is the disparity in power generation. Is it not a reflection of the deep-rooted governance deficit that continue to hold back our growth and potential as Nigerians? That is a question I want you to deliberately answer to us. But I will want you to first probably join the issue with the reactions as PO rescues thousands on the road. And that very road, as envisaged by people who go through that road, that is one of the most dangerous roads. But PO had to come out from the vehicle, taking so much risk to make sure that thousands of Nigerians who are stranded on that road did. And the miracle that happened, that PO doesn't have to give money for the purchase of vehicle or this. Of course, we know he would have done something like that, but nothing is said about, buying of the tire and the rest. But the driver said, "Who am I for His Excellency Peter Obi to beg me?" And he quietly relieved the vehicle of the road, and the whole people were relieved of that. What is your reaction to this very testament of today?
Thank you for having me, and welcome, listeners, wherever you are, for joining us today. Well, of course, you and I think every right-thinking Nigerian, sensible Nigerian, knows that this country, it is very, very difficult for this country to move ahead, to develop, when people who are supposed to be manning the ship are drunk. Literally. All they care about is just personal benefits to themselves and to their cronies. Tell me which sector of the economy in this country is working. Which sector? How can you operate and develop industries when you have this sort of epileptic power supply all the time? All the time. And you go around the world saying that you are looking for investors. You want to tell me that investors will come to this country and use generator to power their industries? You see, our leaders, I don't think they are patriotic. We don't have patriotic leaders. Even if we do, they are minuscule, very few of them. And they are not even allowed to show their craft. They are suppressed. They are made to be subservient to those elite who have captured the state apparatus. This has been a recurring situation, this power supply. For how long will it take a government to try to fix this problem? To try to find people who are capable of handling these issues, and not your cronies, political cronies, who will only go there to make money for themselves. That's the problem we have in this country. Nothing is functioning the way it's supposed to function because of greed, because of state capture. Very few people are making billions and billions of naira, and they don't care. Their morality stinks. They don't care about the downtrodden. We don't have middle class, to say the least. So it's either the 1% up there and the 99% down there. And these people are not going to care. Something has to happen. We have to break that monopoly they have on power. We have to do that. That's the only way this country will work. Nigerians, in fact, sometimes I ask myself, can this Western democracy actually work in this country, given what we've been going through since independence? Can it actually deliver on its promises of elevating the people, bringing equality amongst the people, developing the economic well-being of both individuals and the country itself? You see, I don't think we are really, really ready for this Western style democracy we are practicing. Because we have a large population who are politically illiterate, who are politically ignorant, who are economically poor, coupled with political apathy. When you have these combinations, it is really, really difficult to practice Western style democracy. Because people, you see how they're hailing Obi, bring 10,000 naira now, 5,000 naira, and tell them to vote a cow as an opponent. They will vote for the cow because they lack these ingredients, or they're encumbered by these ingredients that make it impossible for us to develop socio-economically and even politically as well. Obi is the guy that walks the talk. He doesn't pretend, he's not pretentious. He doesn't care what you call him. You can call him names. He is focused. He is deliberate. He knows where he wants the country to go. But will they allow him to do that? No. Everybody knew what happened last year. Even as of today, people call him our president because they know what happened. That actually won election. It's just like during Abiola's time. Rather than giving the person who won the election the post, they gave it to somebody else. In this case, they gave it to Chief Bola Tinubu. And look at where we are now. Look at where we are. So this country needs something strong to decapitate this elite that is holding us down. We need a true leader, which we have in Governor Obi. Somebody who cares about the people. Look at his philanthropic work all over the place. A common gentleman. Like the other, my friend said, if it were another politician, he will find a way to circumvent the blockade. But he didn't. He stopped and walked right there to find out what the problem is and resolve the issue. This is a true gentleman. And we need leaders like him. We need people in leadership like him. That's the only way we can progress. That's the only way Nigeria can move forward. Otherwise, we are in deep trouble. And look at what somebody said, that Nigeria should continue on this path for 15 years before they begin to see dividends. They see improvements in their economic situation. 15 years. Going through this, well, you make the call. Are we a country? Or are we just a space for some people to make money and let others wallow in poverty? Thank you.
Mr. Tony, just another thing before you go, just two things actually. First, I want to bring to your attention about the issue you just mentioned, about 15 years more to go, that is the vice president of the World Bank, or the deputy president of the World Bank, as the case might be, who said Nigeria is looking at between 10 to 15 years more. And we are working with the syllabus of them. But before we get into that very story, I want
to showcase the young man today that Mr. Dr. Mo was talking about, who obviously took selfies with PO and had to take his trailer that the tires were busted off the road. So I just wanted people to know that what Mr. Mo was actually describing there is how having selfies with Mr. President, that is His Excellency P2B, has actually made people to free the road, and the road was actually freed. So that is the young man, the driver, who is in the brown kaftan. Okay, quite away from that, you were talking about the 15 years scenario. I think what is playing out here, Mr. Tony, is that the IMF has clearly have this understanding with Mr. Chief Bola Tinubu as far as the issue of how Nigerians are faring. And they are looking at the suffering of Nigerians to go further, not just the next 4 years or the next 2 years as some people project 2027, but they are even looking 10 and 15 years. So they are indirectly telling Nigerians that the suffering just get started. Let's take a listen to what that man from the international, from the World Bank, is it from the IMF, spoke about. That particular, just 1 minute clip of it, our production team, please put it. Let's hear how he said Nigerians are in for a much more harsh time for the next 10 to 15 years. So, for the people who are crying now, I'm so sorry about that. Let's take a listen.
Okay. But implementing such a far-reaching reform is impossible without solid political commitment from the top. The price of PMS has quintupled since the subsidy cuts, imposing terrible hardship across the breadth of Nigerian society. The central bank has had to hike its policy rate by a huge 850 basis points, that's almost 9 percentage points, in the last 9 months to boost confidence in the naira and anchor inflationary expectations. But the central bank financing of fiscal deficits has finally ended. And Governor Cardoso has been putting Nigeria, or be helping to put Nigeria on the right course, on the correct course. But this is only the beginning. Nigeria will need to stay the course for at least another 10 to 15 years to transform its economy So I don't know if you're agreeing with me or if you're disagreeing with me. If it does that, it will transform its economy and it will become an engine of growth in sub-Saharan Africa, and it will help to transform sub-Saharan Africa. It's very difficult to do these things, but the rewards are massive. So this is the lesson from the last 40 years, as well as the experience of countries such as India, such as Poland, such as Korea, such as Norway.
Rewards seem to be massive coming from the Vice President of the World Bank. Talking about 10 to 15 years, Mr. Tony, that Nigerians are to face hardship. So they are indirectly telling us that this is just the beginning, Tony. Is that not what we have heard?
Exactly what it is. And I think it's even been economical. 15 years is being economical. From the way things are going, I think it's probably take a generation. Look, Nigeria is one of the 26 poorest nations in the world. Poorest nations in the world that are being squeezed by debt. These countries are borrowing beyond their capacity to pay. And even if you come to Africa, I think Nigeria ranks third. We have indebted generations to come in this country, and they are still borrowing. I mean, I think World Bank and the International Monetary, what I just said is from International Development Association. They are the ones putting out the information I just quoted. And the question I want to ask is, World Bank and International Monetary Fund, was they set up by Western economies? Let me ask, did those countries during their time of development had anything like World Bank or International Monetary Fund funding the economic development? No. They just set those organs up for third world countries so that they can manipulate and continue to exploit them in ways that we fail to realize as developing nations. How can these people that call themselves leaders can learn when Pio was quoting statistics? Because if you don't have data, how can you plan? when PO was quoting statistics, they were mocking him, saying that he's always quoting statistics, not knowing that without data, you can make progress. How can you make progress when you don't know where you are, where you are going, and where you came from? So we have a bunch of people that call themselves leaders. Some of them that even studied abroad in Western countries. But because of greed and avarice, they refuse to do the right things necessary for this country to make progress. Look at where we are. A big nation like we are still can't make a headway in fixing our electricity. That is the key to development. They can fix it. Name the area, name the sector, the oil sector, the manufacturing sector. We are going nowhere because we have a bunch of leaders that are focused on just politics. They use politics to show who they are, how big they are, how they can intimidate others, how they can imprison their opponents. While other nations are building in technological know-how, financing new development, new entrepreneurs, and the country developing from their successes. No, we are focused on politics. Everything here is politics. Politics. So, I'm sorry, we're going nowhere with this set of leaders we have. And the worst is still coming because they're already planning how to rig themselves in again for another 4 years. And we continue on the same trajectory. It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah,
I think people should start planning on something strategic to help us extricate this country from those individuals, those 1% that are holding us down.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Tony, all the way
from the coal city, Enugu, reacting to all what is happening in Nigeria, especially when we hear the vice president of the World Bank saying that Nigeria needs to stay focused for 15 years to transform our economy. That is coming from the VP of World Bank. Well, so many people in Nigeria, notable elites, has lent their voices to the fact that Chief Bola Tinubu, using the blueprint of the IMF and the World Bank, will not save Nigeria. Their plan, as it seems, is Nigerians to be enslaved for another 10 to 15 years before they look at our economy being called an improving economy. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony. Thank you, Mr. Bassi, and of course, Christian Due Process from Niger State. Thank you all for coming today. Now, for all of us who are here watching us live, I want to use this opportunity especially to thank you. But please do go to comment section. Tell us what you think about the PO's rescue operation. Whether you think it's very risky for him to be, taking such adventures to help Nigerians, or you think that PO should continue doing the good work he's doing wherever he sees something, he says something, and comes out to actually get it done. Thank you so much. As you pen down your opinion, do not forget to like and share and subscribe so that other active Nigerians will know that Obidient Family TV is live. Until tomorrow when we come your way again. Oh, let me not forget to what I started with. The Nigerian Super Eagles, the Libyan authorities, the way they diverted the Super Eagles flight last minute. The pilot has revealed what really happened. I will let you to watch that and then, of course, put 2 and 2 together to see what CAF is going to talk about on this. As we know, Nigeria has been delisted alongside Libya in the matches that were played in this AFCON second leg. Thank you so much. Take a lesson from the pilot who revealed the deep secret about the discussion in the cockpit while he is still en route to land in Libya. Until tomorrow, bye for now.
What was the point of arrival?
The flight plan was to land as destination Benghazi, Benina, but unfortunately, and we got the approval from the Libyan Civil Aviation Authority that we are approved to land in Benghazi, but unfortunately, when we start descent, they asked us to divert to Nabreg, which is at almost 150 miles, that means 300 kilometers around, more far, but it's at the east. So it wasn't our alternate, something which is not good, because in aviation we have our flight plan, we calculate the fuel to our destination, so we have to avoid this kind of thing, because it may make a breach to safety. And when I insist to land in Benghazi according to my flight plan and according to my authorization, they said no. It's from the highest authority. You have to land in Nabreg al-Baida. So
the Libyans are saying that it was your discretion to land in
no. Everything is registered. In aviation, we cannot hide anything. So I asked them several times, at least 8 times, and I warned them probably I will be in trouble for fuel. They said it's from highest authority. You cannot land in Benghazi. You have to divert immediately to Nabreg. Thank God we make it safely, and we landed safe in the other airport.
In the event that your company is asked to provide evidence.